Right, let's take his cut off like we're stopping. Right, hi guys. So today, it's going to be a bit of a weird one. I'm really not sure what I'm going to call this one, but I want to talk about superhero movies and how I love my superhero movies. I've grown up with films, so superhero movies have been a big part of my life. I remember going to see the original Batman. Well, the original to a lot of people, the Michael Keaton one, when I was probably about 13 on holiday in Scotland, and I went to see it twice in one day. I went to see it with my dad, and then when we came out, there was the young lady whose guest house we were staying in, the daughter of the guy that owned it, and she got tickets because she wanted to go with me, so we went and I watched it again, because I did enjoy it, and it was a real big influence on my life. Superhero movies, to me, sort of started at the 70s with the Superman. I mean, Superman was a big influence on my life and a big influence on the comic book industry and the way these films were made. I have to admit, now I watch Superman, I really enjoy it up to the bit where Lex Luthor comes into it. I don't know. I like Otis and Miss Tessmacher, but Lex Luthor, I don't know. Sorry, but yeah, it was a big thing. I remember going to see Superman 2. I remember sitting in the cinema seeing Superman 2, and there was a kid sat behind us, and all the way through it, he kept going, Mum, when's Superman coming on? Mum, is Superman coming on soon? Mum, when's Superman going to be on it? Is Superman going to be in soon? Mum, where's Superman? Is Superman going to be in this? And then Superman would be on, and he'd shut up for... And the problem with Superman 2 is Superman's not in it a lot. So, yeah. We either sat next to him or we sat next to the women that were knitting. I don't know if they had anywhere else to go, but they were knitting. But yeah. So I grew up on those films. The 66 Batman was a big influence on me as well, and the film. I suffered through a lot of the bad 80s and 90s superhero films, the Captain America that they made. And then we went through that, and then we got to the Spider-Man films. Now, which one came first? Spider-Man, Wolverine, the XMen films. They came first. So we got to the XMen films. And I have to admit, hand on heart, they're not that good. They were all we had. This is the thing you've got to understand. Up until then, superhero films were a little bit comedic. They were always a little bit of a joke. Even the original Superman had humour through it, which is good. But the X-Men films came along and they were like the comic books, apart from the outfits. They put them in black leather. And he's still doing it. They're still letting him dress these people in black leather, and they don't do that. We suffered through them. We had the Spider-Man films. I mean, a lot, but don't get me wrong. People like the X-Men films and the Spider-Man films. And I did at the time, because it's all we had. I remember seeing Spider-Man and thinking, this was good. That was quite a good version of it. But Tobey Maguire is no Peter Parker. He just... And... Okay, let me throw it out there. This is my bit of controversy. Said I didn't like The Godfather the other day, and I've had nothing but grief about that. Everybody loves X-Men 2. It's alright. I don't see where all the big hoo-ha for it's coming from. It's good, but it's okay. Spider-Man 2, everybody always says, oh, the best Spider-Man films is Spider-Man 2. I hate it. I really hate... I've watched it in my entire life. I've watched it 3 times. I watched it once at the cinema. I watched it once on DVD. And then I was at a friend's house once, I think, and they were watching it and it was on in the background. And I think I actually ended up reading a book, because it just irritates me. Why does Peter Parker not just live with Aunt May? That's my biggest problem with it. She sits there, she has no money, she's going to have to sell the house. Yada, do I get the toaster? All that, rubbish. And it is rubbish, sorry, but that's how I feel. Peter Parker's living in an apartment that he can't afford. So why don't you just live with Aunt May, who lives 2 minutes down the road from... He's Spider-Man. He can swing into town. He can jump onto the top of a thing and just stick to the top of it. Onto the top of a... What's it train? Yeah? Subway train. Anyway, look, I'm getting upset. So yeah, everybody goes on about that. Yeah, Spider-Man 3, terrible. X-Men 3, yeah, not so bad. But then we jump forward. And then we've got the Marvel movies. And I remember seeing the trailer for Iron Man. And I sat there watching that trailer and I this was early days of this thing called YouTube. I don't know if you ever watched it. But, early days for me anyway. And I remember I just watched it and watched it again and watched it again. Went off, got a cup of tea, watched it again. And it was like, this looks like Iron Man. They've not put him in black leather. They've put him in an Iron Man suit. And I was blown away by it. And I remember going to see it at the cinema and I was so disrespected. I went to see it on my own. And then I was so blown away by it, I took my ex-girlfriend. I went with a mate of mine. I went on my own again. I went with my ex-girlfriend's brother. I think I must have seen that film 7, 8 times at the cinema. I went a few more times on my own. And it totally blew me away because they'd finally made a superhero movie like the comic books. They'd actually sat down and said, right, look, this is a comic book. This is a story of it. They'd modernised it a little bit. You got to do that. You can't send them to Vietnam anymore or Korea or whatever. I think in the original, was it Korea? I think it's Korea in the original. And you see, there's the other superhero films we've forgotten. They made the Fantastic Four films. And I don't mind the Fantastic Four films. I just wish that Marvel were making them. But that's a different thing. I think I enjoyed the Fantastic Four films more than I enjoy the Spider-Man films. Yeah, shocked him, passed out. If you were to say to me, which would I rather sit and watch, which have I watched most, I would say Fantastic Four films. I like the thing of those. But now we live in this time where Marvel are making their films and DC are making theirs. And when I was a kid reading comics, there was DC and Marvel. They were the only two that we had. And these were the ones that my dad gave me Golden Age, Silver Age comics. So it was back in the days when, Batman was fighting aliens and stuff like that. And every other week Robin would be captured and he'd have to rescue him. So it was that era. The early days, like when they reinvented Flash and Green Lantern and all of those, that's Silver Age. So I was reading those and the early things of like the early Spider-Man and Daredevil. I have Daredevil 5, I think it is. The first one where he wears red, I've got that. Whichever one that is, I've got that. And yeah, I feel I was lucky to have been introduced at that early age to those comics. So when I read the Marvel ones, when I read the DC, we'll start with DC. When I read the DC ones, because I read more DC then, they were all billionaire playboys like Green Arrow and Batman, or they were test pilots, but they were all heroes. And even though they'd got these powers, they enjoyed having the powers. They went out there and they fought for truth, justice, and the American way, and were heroic with it. Marvel, all theirs were heroes, but all theirs had issues. Spider-Man was always worried about Aunt May. Is she all right? Is she okay? Is Betty Ross going to run off with Flash Thompson? Am I ever going to get a girlfriend? Is anything going to work out? They had issues. Iron Man was always worried whether his heart was going to stop. Because he had to charge up his transistors. Yes, Google transistors. And everything was an issue for the people in that. They all had problems and didn't enjoy being heroes. So it was happy heroes DC, trouble heroes Marvel. Now we've got the films, now we've got to the film universes, it's the other way around. All the Marvel characters enjoy being heroes. I mean, come on, Iron Man. Who wouldn't want to be Iron Man? Multimillionaire philanthropist, I can't even say that word, playboy. And, you know, and he's got a super suit. He's got an Iron Man suit. He can do anything. Every one of them is heroic. Thor has no issues. Captain America is... They have issues, but they're about the plot. Yeah. And that works. But for some reason, DC have put so much... How can I describe darkness into theirs? I mean, look at Superman in Batman versus Superman. He's so... Oh! You just want to give him a hug. Superman should be a hero. He should be a guy that stands there with his hands on his hips and looks heroic. And he isn't. You just want to say to him, lighten up. Batman can be dark and gritty and gruesome because he's Batman and he's lost his parents and everything's But Superman should be the brightest, because he's a hero. And that is what I don't understand why DC are doing this. I haven't seen Wonder Woman yet, but I've heard it's not a barrel of laughs. People criticise, and you'll probably criticise this video and you'll have a go about it now, and please do. I like to stand my ground, and I will say, I like the humour in the Marvel films. Because I think if you laugh along with a character, and you like them because they make you smile, and you enjoy their presence and them being there, you feel more at one with them. So then, you laugh along with them. And then when something tragic or unhappy happens to them, you care. I don't care about Superman in these new films. I just want to slap him and tell him, cheer up. You're Superman. Yeah. And that is my problem with these new films. Suicide Squad had humour in it. I liked it. That of the Marvel films so far, controversially, probably, is the one that I've enjoyed the most. It has some filming issues. The editing on it is terrible. It does feel like it's missing something. It has what my pet peeve in the world is. And I know they did it in the Avengers. The big hole in the sky with something coming through it that we need to be saved from. It worked in the Avengers. It doesn't work in every film, though. And why did... Suicide Squad should have been a film where they went out there and Suicide Squad to me is like Mission Impossible. It should have been a Mission Impossible with superheroes in it. Yeah? Go out there, get hold of if you can, the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited DVDs, the animated series. I'm sure you can find it on Netflix or somewhere like that. Go and watch them. They are brilliant. And that is what I wanted to see on the big screen. And I enjoyed Man of Steel. Yes, certain issues with it. I think the end, the big fat end is way too big. The Metropolis must be huge because they're battling through it like nobody's business. You know, it's huge. But yeah, I mean, why? Come on, DC. I'm hoping now Joss Whedon's got his thumb in the pie. I'm hoping that he brings up some of the likeness to it and makes it a little bit more cheerful. I don't want it to be a comedy. I don't want there to be a drunch at the end of every scene. I just want it to be lighter. I mean, look at Guardians of the Galaxy. Who would have thought that a film with a talking tree and a raccoon in it would work? I'll be honest with you. As a comic book fan, I was never a big reader of Guardians of the Galaxy. Probably still am. I've read a few graphic novels I've picked up, but I wouldn't sort of go out of my way to find them. And yeah, they were okay. But that film is brilliant because the director sat down and he's looked at the comics and he's looked at the world and he's created a thing to go along with it. And it works so well. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, yeah, I'll admit, a little bit low on plot, but some great set pieces in it, some great ideas. I mean, the bit with, I feel I can talk about it now, the bit with Groot dragging things to the prison cell to get him out is really funny. It's silly, but it's funny. Even the beginning of Avengers when Captain America says language, it works. And that is the thing. You feel like the Avengers are a team. You feel like this is a group of friends Super Friends. Sorry about that. I ranted on for so long that the camera actually went into sleep mode. So if you like this video, very calmly, if you like this video, give me some likes, give me some thanks, give me some subscriptions. Thank you to all of those of you out there who have subscribed, and I will see you all really, really soon.